Today I'm going to tell you 3 intense boarding school stories that will make you more prayerful for your children and your words in boarding school, in universities, anywhere they are outside of your home. So these stories are going to make you think more about how you cover them with prayers. The names of the people and environments in the first 2 stories will be hidden to hide the identities of those involved, but the ones of the third will be made known to you. Greetings everyone, I'm your favorite church girl, Vibok. I welcome you to a brand new week, pregnant with possibility. Like I say, it's not a cliche in this our kingdom, it's our reality. So get pumped, get hyped, because it's going to be favorable to you, I promise you. So let's get into today's stories. Now, Daniela was about 13 years old and she just started her boarding school experience. She was in SS1 and this was like a new experience for her outside of home. She had done her junior secondary in a day school, so she was always going to school from home, except for now that she was in SS1, she was in a boarding school. And the school compound was well equipped with facilities that will make the learning environment, conducive for the children. So every day they had running water in all their hostels and it was just perfect until on one day they had water crisis. And normally in the school, once it was time for them to be in the hostel, they had no business being out of the hostel unless there was a matron who was going to take them out of the ward for any reason, or out of the hostel for any reason. So, but on this particular day, the matron had just decided to take a little walk to go do something else. And these kids were experiencing a water crisis. So in the hostel, there was no water. But they knew that there was a tank outside of the hostel that there was water. And then Daniela said, okay, I'm going outside to get myself some water to drink. Who else needs water? So all her friends gathered all their water bottles and they gave to her and like, please help me get some water, help me get some water. And she's like, everybody's just packing their water bottles and giving to me. Nobody's even saying, let me escort this lady. But then she decided, okay, I'm big enough, I can do this. She went out. It was like 8 p.m. around that time. And she went out of the hostel, was approaching the tank. And just as she was about to start running the water in her bottle, she just looked up and she saw these big Rottweiler dogs. The school had the Rottweiler dogs to just keep the environment sort of safe, so to make strangers know that this environment was not to be tampered with. And so every day around 8 p.m. the dogs were going to be let out. But Daniela was not aware of this at the time. So she came out of the hostel and just as she was about to fetch the water, she sighted 2 of the dogs. And she was like, I'm finished. Now, Daniela used to have Rottweiler dogs growing up, and they had to let the dogs go because the dogs were becoming wild. So she had an experience with Rottweiler, and she knew that this wasn't going to be good. And she looked up and she saw the Rottweiler dogs were just right in front of her, like 10 meters away from her. And then she was like, I'm gone, I'm finished. But then she realized that these dogs were not actually facing her. They were actually facing the opposite side. And then she began to retreat until she was able to run back into her hostel and slam the gate. And she was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. I could have lost my life. When she shared this with me, I was like, God saved your life. You need to be grateful. Now, this third story was told me by my mom some years ago. She brings it up every now and then when she wants to talk about something related to that, talking about prayers. Now, my mom was a very, very spiritual lady, very prayerful from a very young age in school. And on one of those days when they had their examination, she had a very, very brilliant friend who she studied with every time for her examinations. And that day, they actually took time to study very, very intensively and prepared for the exam. They were very sure they were prepared for the exam. And that night, after studying, they went to their rooms, to their hostel to just go sleep. Now, my mom said her friend just went straight to bed and she decided to kneel down for some minutes, pray a little bit before going to bed. And she knelt down to pray. And just then she fell in a trance. My mom said in that trance, she sighted a lady wearing the hostel attire just walk into the hostel. Just my mom kneeling down there praying, and she who walked into the hostel with a calabash in her hand. And the girl just walked straight to her bed and stood beside her bed, bless me, I've been sneezing all week. Stood beside her bed, kept standing, just waiting for her to finish praying. And my mom said she understood that lady was on a mission against her. And she decided she wasn't ending that prayer. She decided she wasn't ending that prayer. She kept praying. This lady was becoming impatient. You could see the impatience in her eyes with the calabash still in her hand. My mom didn't recognize her from anywhere. She wasn't a familiar face. She hadn't seen her before, but obviously she was wearing the hostel attire, so this had to be one of us. But I don't know who this person is and what's with this calabash in her hand and why is she impatient standing beside my bed. My mom said she intensified her prayers and kept praying. She understood that the girl was getting impatient, but she continued her prayers. She wasn't about to give up because she had no idea what that girl was up to. And just when the girl could no longer bear the length of the prayer, the girl took the calabash, went to my mom's friend's bedside and dropped the calabash under her bed. And she walked away just as mysteriously as she walked in. My mom rounded up her prayers and stood up, looked around and like, what just happened? For a moment, she felt like, was it a trance or was it real? But then she looked, her friend was actually still sleeping. whatever the case. So she went to bed, said, whatever it is, I have handed everything over to God. And went to sleep. In the morning, they went to the hall to write the exam that they had intensively studied for the night before. And after the exam, my mom said she called her friend. I was like, how was the paper? The lady was like, Mercy, I don't know what happened in that exam hall. Everything we studied last night vanished from my head. I couldn't remember nothing. I couldn't write anything. But this is your favorite subject. This is what we studied very well for. Mercy, I don't understand. I went blank. In fact, it was as if I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. And my mom said she felt guilty for not praying for her that night and not making her pray, because obviously what happened that night was playing out and the girl failed that exam woefully. These stories are telling you that these children in boarding schools, in schools generally, go through a lot. Some of these things they may not be able to tell us, some of their experiences they may not be able to share. You just notice some changes in your children. Sometimes you just notice some weird behavior. Sometimes you just don't understand your kids anymore. It is a good reason for you to keep praying. Please keep praying for your children, especially the ones that are away from you, the ones in boarding school, the ones in universities, the ones in colleges. Please pray for the ones that are not by you. Keep praying for them, because what they are going through you may not understand. Let them be protected and let God always be beside them, because there's a lot that the devil wants to do against these children, but he will not succeed as long as you keep praying for them and guiding them the right way, counseling them. They need to know what is right and what is not right to do. So, and their curiosity needs to be guided. Let these children be curious. Let them be inquisitive, but let it be guided. We need to do these things for our children's future. I hope you've had a wonderful time listening to these 3 stories. I'll bring some stories to you next time, but this is where I have to stop on this one, sadly. I hope you have a wonderful week. This week promises to be a beautiful week. It promises to be an excellent week, and I know God is doing mighty things in our midst. So welcome to a brand new week once again, pregnant with possibilities. Before I leave, don't forget to like, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, everything VBoxing. If you haven't already done that, click on the notification bell so that whenever I upload anything, you'll be the first to see it. I enjoy everything you do. Like, comment, share, whatever you do to keep my videos going. I'm appreciating it. You just doing it is also a blessing to me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I don't take it for granted. I love you guys so much. Have a beautiful week. Mwah.